A group of Ijaw women in Rivers State are calling on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to tame Wike in FCT and call him to order him to stay far from Rivers State and from ruining the peace that they are currently enjoying in Rivers State. They also went forward to tell the president to ask Wike to stay away from Governor Fubara and to allow him deliver the full dividends of democracy to the good people of Rivers State.
Eyes on!
Yeah.
Eyes on!
Yeah.
Eyes on! Greetings, members of the press, Ijaw mothers here, ladies and gentlemen. Ijaw Mothers Union was formed and created by a group of mothers across Ijaw Nation. The idea was to create a community where mothers from Ijaw nations can share and voice their perspective on political, social, and economic issues. Most notably, in the year 2003-2009 was a very traumatic era for Ijaw mothers due to the political upheaval that displaced our children from their communities. Thank God, it's now all over. Today we are here full of love and joy for everybody from Rivers State and people from other regions residing in Rivers State. By the grace of God, we've forgiven ourselves and moved on. It's now worrisome hearing the strong warnings and threats from the FCT minister, Barrister Nyesom Wike, regards to his political structure and his insistence that he should not be tampered with. His words sent chills down our spines, especially coming from someone who was a local government chairman in the Obiakpo local government area during the Niger Delta insurgency, and he witnessed all that transpired. The thought of the minister potentially dragging the state back to turmoil that once engulfed our oil production and affected the global oil market speaks volumes about the rapacious leaders we as a people have celebrated. Having experienced first-hand crisis of structural control during the Niger Delta insurgency, we are determined to preempt the minister's threat from escalating into a situation we would all regret. We do not want another round of bloodshed or the trauma of identifying the corpse of our sons at odd hours of the night. The state is currently embroiled in heated arguments, with the minister not relenting on his threats, as his few beneficiaries appear to be working towards chaos come 2027. Therefore, we believe the time is right to speak out, make our stance known, and call for help from the authorities' response to nip this brewing crisis in the bud, because we don't want anybody to take us back to the dark days for personal ambition. As mothers, we are calling upon the mother of our nation, our First Lady, distinguished Senator Mrs. Oluremi Tinubu, to take a special interest in the ongoing situation in Rivers State. We plead with her to investigate and uncover the truth, rather than accept the lies that have been perpetrated through political cover-ups. The situation has become too severe for security agencies to ignore what is fermenting right before their watch. They are aware of what has happened and the consequences that follows. For years, our children in Rivers State have been out of schools and denied gainful employment opportunities. Civil servants have not been promoted for years, and Rivers people have struggled to access medical care in vain due to severely dilapidated hospital facilities and services. Now that our sons are returning back to schools and gradually regaining access to employment, the civil servants have been promoted, the citizens and people residing in Rivers State are beginning to experience adequate medical care and life is coming to normalcy. Rivers State is not a battleground. It is a sensitive state in every aspect. We do not want any group to disrupt this peaceful atmosphere on our streets anymore. We all know that power is never given freely. Therefore, Rivers people are curious to understand the capacity, the legitimacy and forces backing the minister, Barrister Nyesom Wike, who believes he can freely, forcefully change the existing structures in Rivers State without destroying our oil and gas facilities and plunging Nigeria economy into chaos. Are Nigerians ready for another round of crisis in Niger Delta and a total collapse of the economy at this moment? We are praying for and supporting the president to rectify the issues that previous government have neglected. Is this the right time to formulate another round of mayhem in a relatively peaceful Niger Delta? Is there cynicism surrounding the minister's entire narratives? Are there ulterior motives at play to strategically infuriate President Tinubu's New Hope agenda and take the baton from the president to contest 2007 election or another unknown agenda best known to the minister? Join those that believe that there is security to protect our massive oil and gas facilities in the complicated creeks of this core Niger Delta terrain should reconsider, as the youths are more than capable of causing another catastrophe. Historic context of River State political structure. Before the Europeans invaders arrived, there were no formal structure. Only indigenous clans were governed by Alapu, plural for Alabo. We had powerful kings and native foot soldiers, whom we respected as our leaders. Many of our kings were exiled to Europe by the colonial powers due to their resistance to their greedy European merchants. The first significant political and economic structure change occurred in 1884, leading to consequences that affected everybody in present-day Nigeria. The Royal African Company, RAC, received a charter from the British government to trade in Nigerian coastal areas, but King Frederick Koko of Nembe rejected their trade terms, leading to hostility between the RAC and the Brass people. The Royal African Company imposed levies on the Brass people, restricting their access to the coast for their livelihood. With the development, King Frederick Koko convened a meeting with other chiefs, and they agreed to fight for their rights rather than die of hunger. This led to the infamous Akasa raid, where the premises of the Royal African Company were raided and hostages were taken. Some were released alive, whilst others were killed and eaten in cannibalism ritual. The Royal African Company retaliated by invading the small town with the Royal Navy, massacring the inhabitants, including women and children. The consequence of this colonial hostility to impose a new structure that denied the host community free trade were unacceptable to King Koko and his people. This led to the expansion of the Niger Delta Protectorate and the eventual amalgamation of Nigeria. The historical context illustrates how political structure agitation can go wrong, as seen with the Royal African Company, which ultimately lost its charter due to its despotic policies. The amalgamation of Nigeria was met with protest. From the Niger Delta, and despite promises of development funds, these were never released. The Civil War further exemplified the disastrous consequent political control struggle, leading to widespread destruction and loss of life in Igbo land. The Niger Delta insurgency, apart from the destruction of oil facilities that plunged our oil production below 2 million barrels per day, another twist was the introduction of kidnapping as a means of protest that originated when the former President Olusegun Obasanjo detained Asari Dokubo, and the Niger Delta youths were livid and demanded the oil workers to leave Niger Delta region. Some workers left, and the ones that stayed behind became victims of Niger Delta youth kidnapping rampage, which has since become a lucrative enterprise with their consequences. Who knows what next can be introduced? The political struggle in Rivers State have left deep scars. The Ijaw people have first-hand experience of the consequences of political structural control. The insurgency was rooted in grievances over resource control and has led to a culture of violence and mistrust. As we reflect on our history, we must ask, are we as Nigerians ready for another round of destruction in the Brak, Bayelsa, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Cross River coastal area, which produces 72% of the nation's resources? Is the government prepared for the potential destruction of oil and gas facilities for the sake of one man's political ambition? The consequences of ignoring these issues are enormous. We seize this opportunity to call on our capable governor, His Excellency Siminalayi Fubara, to develop the skills and capabilities of the rivers used to dominate the oil and gas industries, rather than being used as political tools. We also thank God for using Mr. President Bola Tinubu to have appointed the Minister Nyesom Wike to a very engaging position that have divided his attention from Rivers State. The minister, as the Mr. Project, did an amazing job in the infrastructure of Rivers State. Please make him comfortable in Abuja and give him the support to replicate his wonderful projects in Federal Capital Territory. In conclusion, we want peace, justice, and a better future for Rivers State. We will not allow the mistakes of the past to repeat themselves. We stand united as mothers, ready to protect our children and our community from rapacious politicians threatening our peace. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you all for your attention. God bless Rivers State. God bless Nigeria.
Recall that the political battle for supremacy between Wike and Fubara is still lingering, and a recent court order quashing the request of Pro-Wike lawmakers asking the CBN to cease the allocation of Rivers State was recently delivered in favor of Fubara, making Fubara a victorious one among his counterparts who are wishing to render his administration dormant cocoon and starve the state of financial resources.